Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Darshawn McAway. You're tuned in to Wild Podcast. Today we have a special podcast. We're going to be talking about photographer Dillion Dooms. He's accused of voyeurism, and I have some models that are in affiliation, and also myself, Mamie, Savannah, and Adriana. How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Doing well. All right. Mamie, I asked the question earlier. How has this affected your perception towards modeling, dealing with Dillion Dooms?
It makes me scared because of the fact that, I was stating earlier, before I got disconnected, I would have considered him a friend more than just, I'm a model, he's a photographer. I would have considered him a friend, and the fact that for this to come out, it just does, it's just so unsettling. I don't know who I can trust anymore, because...
Yeah, I completely agree, Mamie. I met Dillion through a mutual friend who was my roommate for a little bit, and I knew she had some issues, had her own trauma, within, the past year, and I was like, okay, she has these issues, so she would probably, I kind of trusted her to, trust this person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, that I was like, okay, so I'm going to trust this guy to do my photos, and, a projector shoot was really cool. I met him, and he just seemed very genuine, and, we hit it off. We had a very professional, relationship, and we kind of bounced off ideas when we would shoot together. We shot at least 4 or 5 times, throughout the year, and to just go back and look at, what has happened to the times that we have shot, it's very... it hits you in the head. You're just how did I not see that?
It's just so disrespectful. Because, in my opinion, on my side of the story, yes, I am not appointed a victim yet, but, I went to him, and I do nude modeling, so this is art to me.
Right.
And he's not, allegedly, he's not treating it like art.
Right.
And that's just such a slap in the face. Makes me sick to my stomach that potentially my new body is out there circulating the world, and I don't know.
Right.
Right. It would have been different had you had known. You're hey, we're gonna, do this, this, and this, and this is what the direction we're gonna go in. You're being paid for your shoot, and that's great. But yeah, to go behind your back, or even to have,
let's be real. We're in the day and age where you can easily go open up any kind of forum and sell your pictures if you really wanted to. If I wanted to make money off of my body, I would have already had an OnlyFans. And there is absolutely no need for somebody to do that behind my back and me not even get compensated for it.
Right.
So, no, that's literally, just aside from the fact that you disrespected so many people on so many levels, that it's kind of now what?
Yeah. So, ladies, let me ask you.
Who can I trust? Who can I work with?
So that's a great question. I was going to ask you. So what do you do moving forward? How do you guard your image? How do you guard your emotions moving forward when you're trying to be a model?
Not shoot.
Savannah, I'll let you answer that question. Savannah, I'll let you answer that question.
I'm going to be more leery about how I engage, I guess, with photographers, and more so how I approach them, or how I get their information. I think I'm going to be asking a little bit more questions, or looking at a portfolio, just taking extra precautions to make sure that something like this doesn't happen, or, it's always a nightmare for this to happen, to people, but just make sure you take a friend with you, or something.
Yes. I am going to say something I am not really connected in any way to the modeling industry here in Fayetteville. I'm just on the page because of a few friends of mine that are on they're photographers, and I've done some mermaid stuff with a few people. So I'm just on there to, see what's going on and join in whenever I can. This was my first photo shoot. And I took my boyfriend with me. I messaged a few friends who I had seen worked with him, and everybody was like, yeah, well, I don't really care, whatever. Like, nothing's ever happened. I've done a few shoots with him, so who cares? Go for it. Sure.
Right.
I go, there was another photographer there that was watching this shoot happen. It was not a nude shoot. I had multiple outfits that I was changing in and out of.
Right.
And, you know, you'd think that someone who says, hey, I'm going to give you your space, I'm going to step outside if you want to change in here, go for it. You're given this welcoming atmosphere. You're given this, like, very trustworthy appearance.
Right.
You're giving any room for doubt, so why would you even question, like, why would you even go to think, is there a hidden camera in here? Like,
Right.
no, that doesn't even cross your mind.
Yeah.
So it just feels literally like a slap in the face. Like, a punch in the gut. Like, what just happened? Where did that come from?
Well, to go back to what Savannah was saying also, you know, oh, well, I'm going to check their portfolio and I'm going to do more of a detailed check. We did on Dylan. There was so many pictures. There was such a portfolio. There was such a professionalism that was... There was no way. I mean, it was
There was
great.
no reason to doubt it. You know, like, you go in there and it looks, you know, yeah, sure, it looks a little small, but everybody starts somewhere. That's what you think.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally all you think about that place is, well, it's okay. It's not this fancy place, but why would that matter?
Right.
Right.
The thing that doesn't make sense to me about this whole situation is everyone, if this would have not happened, this is what I don't understand about the whole situation. If none of this would have happened, you would ask if you were to sit here and just ask us about Dylan, we would probably say the same thing. He was genuine, he was nice, he was professional. And so for all of this to happen, it's like, what in the heck?
Right.
I literally left that shoot and I turned to my boyfriend and I was like, man, I could definitely see us, like, me working with him again. Like,
Yes.
I could literally see myself using him as my main photographer. Like, that's
I was planning a
my
photo
exact
shoot with him
word.
when I found out.
So,
Yeah, and Darshan and I had a
Yeah.
shoot planned out back in June, and this was going to be a huge ordeal for Darshan and I and for Dylan. You know, we were going to create some content for a cologne that he has coming out, and you know, we were really just shooting for it. We planned this, you know, a few months in advance. Personally, you know, Darshan and I had met up and had some business meetings, and then we brought Dylan in when we decided that he was going to be our photographer, and he was all for it. Dylan was all for it, and we're like, you know, this is great for Northwest Arkansas, it's good for us, like, everybody wins. And then the day of the shoot that it was supposed to happen, well, we had actually met like a week before, and he was like, well, we'll just change the venue to our house, to my house. And I was like, okay, well, that's, maybe there's a little bit more natural light and we won't go with this, you know, animated kind of theme here, and it'll be a little bit better, like, he knows what he's talking about. And the day of the shoot, he's like, hey, sorry about the mix-up, you know, I totally, you know, like, spaced and forgot about the shoot. And it's like, how do you forget about that?
yeah.
This is a this is a big shoot. It was a big ordeal for you. I had that written on my calendar, like, months before, you know, it happened. And so it's like, you don't just forget about something. So it was kind of shady to me that he just all of a sudden wanted to change plans.
Yeah. So to add to that, just like everybody else on the podcast, when I met him, I felt the same thing that you ladies felt. Like, okay, guys, he's real genuine and he's real cool. He's listening. He's very attentive. But I did tell Savannah, I guess after the fact, once I heard this, I said, you know what? Now it makes sense why his artwork was so kind of like horror, spooky type deal, you know. So if it's true that he was recording people, now that I look back on it, I go, oh, it makes sense why he was acting the way he was acting. I thought he was just being standoffish, but I told Savannah that I've been around enough people to know when somebody's kind of like a creeper, and I was like, you know what, now it makes sense. And in actuality, when he moved the photo shoot from the studio to his house, I was actually kind of like, why would he do that, you know? And this was supposed to be the most artistic, semi-raunchy but classy cologne commercial print that I was going to do. And I thought that he was being genuine about the whole process, but looking back on it, it could have been a process as to where he might have been setting up more cameras, because we had to do a lot of wardrobe changes, you know, and he knew what to expect. So when he pulled that move about, hey, I can't do this. I forgot. You know, I called Savannah, text. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this is like impossible right now. How could he forget? And we've been in here for months. It's like basically we were rehearsing before the big day, and then next thing you know, nothing happens. And then a couple weeks later, whenever the news came out about him, I go, oh man, I saved myself from being around this guy. So my question to you ladies, are you still pursuing modeling, or are you going to take a break?
I have been trying to pursue modeling. Of course, you know, with the coronavirus, it is hard to find gigs and photographers around the area. But I'm definitely feel more towards like taking a break and taking a step back and really evaluating my mental health. Working in the behavioral health center, you know, I come across girls that have, you know, trauma, and I take so much like learning from them and learning their coping mechanisms, or, you know, and just coming face forward with, hey, like, you were in a traumatic instance, like, you need to take a break, take a step at like where you're at and where your mental space is, and take that time for yourself and to really evaluate, you know, do you still want to support, you know, this artist? Obviously we don't want to support him. I've seen a lot of girls take down their photos, delete, you know, pictures that they have done with them, and there's a strength in numbers, and I've seen a lot of us, you know, come up out of that. But personally for me, it's just kind of taking a step back.
Yeah, Mamie?
Yeah, I think
I can honestly kind of say the same thing. So I did a photo shoot here recently after finding out about Dylan, and I know this person really well, and I caught myself shaking as I was meeting up with this person. And I am a victim of sexual assault, of rape, and that, I mean, that's how I have my kids. So like to sit here and to do something and be so vulnerable in front of someone, I'm literally done. I'm doing clothing photo shoots. I might do some flirty stuff, but I cannot put myself in that situation again to where, like, not only that, like, this also relates back to how everyone's just buying a camera nowadays and calling themselves a photographer.
Yeah.
And it's just so scary. And so at this point, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm kind of with Savannah. I'm kind of chilling, and I'm going to take a mental check.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I am beside myself because I was a friend of his, and I am surprised by just the whole situation. And like, to go back to what you were saying earlier, Sean, is you were talking about how you just kind of felt like weird after he said that. Like, when I was in the photo shoot, I always bring someone. There's no, I mean, unless it's my really good friends, I don't bring someone, but I always brought someone, and I brought someone to this shoot because I know how nude I was going to be. And that whole time, I could never go behind his computer. And when I changed, I had to be in like a certain area. He would want me like over there and just stay over there and don't come behind my computers. And it just kind of made me weird the whole time. So at this point, I don't trust anyone.
That is really weird. And you know, you seem like a very intelligent person, Mamie, and Adriana also. But to go through this, and I kind of thought, you know, like working in behavioral health, you notice like all the red flags. And for me, he was always like fidgety and like really sweaty, but also I kind of put it on him drinking energy drinks, you know, like, okay, like he's like kind of excited, but he's also like nervous maybe because he kind of seemed like an amateur photographer.
Yeah.
I know he worked with a lot of people like from the Northwest Arkansas Fashion Week. And
but he did a lot of graphic designing. That's
Yeah.
his thing, and that's why I could pick up on the nervous thing too. Like he was sweating bullets. Like he just murdered someone.
It really was, and it wasn't even like a point where there should be any reason for you to be nervous.
Right.
You know, like, unless you're, like, staring at something you really shouldn't be staring, why are you nervous?
Right.
Like,
what's behind your computer screen? Why can't I come behind your computer screen?
Yeah.
what's weird is that I was allowed back there, and I was even shown, like, stuff on the computer. Like, I mean, I'm a pretty nosy person when it comes to tech because I am a graphic designer myself, so I want to see what you have on your computer, why you have it, what are you doing, what projects are you making? You know, like, that's the kind of person I am.
Right.
So Adriana, I want you to answer that question too. Are you still going to pursue modeling, or are you going to take a break?
I don't know at this moment. I have a lot on my plate at this time. Like, I haven't even really been able to give myself the time and space to think about literally the whole situation. At first, I was kind of involved, but I'm like, life has been throwing ball after ball over here, and I'm just kind of not sure what I'm doing anywhere at this point. I'm pretty much reaching a breaking point, and it's getting kind of difficult to navigate that.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 8 years, and I'm at that breaking point too. I've never, in 8 years of doing this, I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. And out of all those years, this is the first time someone has been accused of doing something like this. And it's honestly sickening.
Yeah. So what I want to say to all you ladies, just a little bit of word of encouragement. I'm proud of you ladies for trying to pursue something, but I'm sorry that there are men out here, or even women, that try to take advantage of us when we're just trying to pursue something artistically. So with that being said, I want everybody to answer this question. I'm gonna go with Mamie first, and then Savannah, then Adriana. What advice do you have for anyone trying to get into the industry, just based off of what you experienced with Dillion Dooms?
I would, like Savannah said, always bring someone. Like, I mean, I could count on one hand how many shoots I've gone to by myself, and I would say, I can't say that enough. Take someone with you. There's too much sex trafficking. There's too many dirty minds. There's just so much. Not only that, don't ever do something you don't want. I know girls nowadays have a hard time saying no. Just say no. I mean, if you don't want to pull your shirt down a little bit, don't do it. And that's what I have to, I mean, just stay true to yourself is what I have to say at the end of it. Just stay true to yourself and trust your gut. If you have a freaking feeling, trust it. Because I'm telling you, there's 9 times out of 10, you're going to be glad that you did.
Savannah?
Yeah, I definitely think that, you should definitely take somebody with you. But if I've learned anything about this experience and being in here, just be prepared to have a thick skin, to stand your ground.
Honestly.
And I know we were kind of blindsided by this whole thing, so, I think that's the shock factor for all of us. Had we had gotten that feeling, like, we wouldn't have continued to work with him.
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely don't be afraid to speak out, and I know that it's easier said than done, to just be like, yeah, this happened to me, and then not face backlash or fear of backlash, or put in a different light. But I would just say, just be prepared for anything. I was even willing to go through, like, legal links. I'm like, do I need a lawyer? I remember in our business meeting, Darshan, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to, need a lawyer for how serious this is going to be with our ad that we were going to come out with.
Right.
I was like, just so that I'm protected at all costs. So, just make sure you're geared up and that you're just mentally, prepared for whatever it is to come.
Adriana?
I'm going to say an advice coming from someone who is stepping into the modeling industry and this is their first encounter with with it, and this is what happens. I'd say honestly, get yourself a group of girls that you know and trust, models who you know and trust, that you are always going to be able to just, rely on as a support group. Stand together with everything.
Yes.
Where if one of you feels uncomfortable, all of you respond, not just one of you. I'm not, I hate saying it, but this isn't my first rodeo with the Fayetteville Police Department and a sexual assault, sexual related charge of any kind. They drag their feet on the ground, and especially seeing the difference it made to have 12 victims versus one, that in itself just shows you how important it is to have a group of people that you can turn to in the industry that you trust. And I'm not talking about photographers, because nothing against photographers, but I've had plenty of photographers turn around and say, he's not a bad person, I can't et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, just because you're a friend of this person, or just because this person's the only whatever in the industry, doesn't mean that they need to be protected. Y'all have to get some steel balls and put them on and go ahead and speak what you need to say, because
we need to stand together, and we need to support each other through all of this, and after this, honestly.
Exactly.
Stick by each other, because we all have the same dream. We all have the same passion and the same talent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know, some of us don't feel like we're not a victim because, our photos may have not been found on there. But honestly, I think that we are a victim of some sort. Our trust has been broken, and our minds have kind of entered that traumatic state where it's who do I trust? What do I do now? Where do I go from here? Do I continue to pursue this job that I have? Because I feel like it's our duty to encourage young girls and women alike, to just stand their ground and to speak out about important matters such as these.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Mamie, Savannah, and Adriana, I do thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I applaud you, ladies, for standing up for what's right and taking big steps to just, say no. That's the most important thing. Does anybody have any closing remarks that they want to say?
Honestly, we've been talking about this a lot in the group. I hope this gets out what we need to get out, because all of us feel, I'm pretty sure I can speak for all of us, we kind of feel like we have an elephant on our shoulders right now.
Yeah.
We want justice, and we want to feel like we matter.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that that this reaches the people that it needs to hear, because we're not the only ones, we're this isn't the only photographer, this isn't the only instance here, and I'm really hoping that somehow, people start realizing that
it's okay to speak
up.
Yeah, speak up. Tell people, that's what we need, just to have more courage.
Right.
Yeah.
We can't stand alone, so thank you.
Right, no problem. No problem at all. Well, I'm your host, Darshawn. Thank you for tuning in to Wild Podcast. Mamie, Savannah, and Adriana, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Have a good one.